So Father Senan Timoney, Jesuit, at present in Cherryfield Lodge, which is our convalescent home in Dublin, but a Galway man who was part of the first crew of the reconstituted rowing club in Galway. And so he'll tell us a little bit about that in the place of Father Andy O'Reilly. So can you tell us the story, Senan?
I was in the jails from 38 to 45, and this would have been my 5th and 6th year. 44, I don't know how exactly Andy O'Reilly approached me. I knew Andy well, but he stipulated that if you wanted to row, you had to learn to swim. So I usually went out to Blackrock and learned to swim. I mean, we were living in Salt, quite close, Taylor City, quite close, but I didn't swim. So anyhow, I learned, and we rowed 43 to 44 and 44 to 45. And the crew was, I think, as there. Bow was Brendan O'Riordan, afterwards head of the National Museum. 2 was Frank Ford, the professor of French at the university. 3 was myself, and 4, the stroke, was Johnny Mangan, who was a doctor. They lived in Monksfield, and afterwards Johnny was a doctor in Dunmore. Now, I don't think there were any, that was the 4 of us. Who used to cox us, I'm not dead certain. I have an idea that in the only race I remember was either in 44 or 45, and Ivor Kenny coxed. Now, we had no boat and depended on Coral, and especially on Mick Kavanagh. He was the boatman in Coral. And now Coral itself, I don't think they had any crew on the river at that time, and so we went there. Now, I wouldn't say it was a terrific boat, because I'd say rowing in Galway at that stage was in the doldrums. And I remember rowing at Galway Regatta in either 44 or 45, and we rowed against the beach, St. Joseph's, and St. Joseph's beat us. I would say we had very little experience. But that was 44 and 45. And that was the resurrection after, that photo is a very good one, of Colm O'Riordan, his older brother, that would be Brenda's older brother, and who's the else you mentioned? Walter Murphy, was it?
Walter Murphy,
yeah.
Colm O'Riordan, Kevin Fowler,
yeah.
Austin Caulfield, and Andy Keogh.
Yeah. Now, you don't want to hear too much about it, but Kevin Fowler was Fowler's jewellers, and he was left money to become a doctor, and he became a doctor, but he devoted all his life to poetry. Walter Murphy would have been a son of Professor Murphy, UCG, I think Professor of English.
Andy Keogh.
Andy Keogh, or Keogh's next door,
Mm-hmm.
who I think joined the society for in the novelship. And Caulfield would have been, there was a Caulfield shop just beyond Dominic Street Bridge.
Mm-hmm. Right. Now you say that you, there was some question about getting a boat and doing it up. Andy, Father and
I came back to Galway then in 50, sorry, in 61.
61. As a
Oh,
scholastic?
sorry, I was at Scholastic 53 to 56.
53 to 56, yeah. And
And
were you
then-
involved in rowing in those days?
Oh, I was.
Tell us about that.
Because Eddie Diffiley was the sportsmaster, and Eddie was a great enthusiast. And I used to always go up in the outrigger or something, not in the outrigger, but watching the crew. That was an exceptionally good crew. Walter Mackin, the Opus Dei, he was the stroke, and he lived in Oughterard, so he had to be collected from there. And they were a very successful crew all over Ireland. And I travelled all over Ireland with them. I certainly was in Limerick. I was in Island Bridge. There was a photo in the paper, I remember at that time, of Eddie Diffiley and myself at Island Bridge.
And what year was that?
That would have been 50, I'd say 55.
And can you remember the newspaper that the photo was in?
I think it was the Independent.
Independent, yeah.
But that was a most successful crew which went on to become maiden age champions of Ireland. That was after I had left there. I was there 53, 56, so it must have been in 57 they won the maiden age championship in Cork, and they certainly, among others, I think they beat Queens. So it was remarkable. It was a schoolboy crew against students.
What sort of training did you do in those days?
The first thing I'd say is that we did far less than they do now. And most of the training, nearly all of the training, was on the water. It wasn't in the gym or on weights or on
rowing machines as they have now.
No.
Where you can measure everything, your heartbeat and the rate.
And then in 55, Eddie Diffiley was transferred to Dublin.